The Armed Services Committee meets today to consider the nomination of Mr. Richard V. Spencer to be Secretary of the Navy. To begin with, I'd like to acknowledge the tragedy in Mississippi yesterday, the 16 service members who lost their lives in the crash of a Marine Corps KC-130 from Cherry Point, North Carolina, reminds us that these brave men and women put themselves in harm's way every day at home and abroad, in training and in combat in service to our nation. We're all keeping their families in our hearts and prayers. Mr. Spencer, we thank you for joining us this morning. We also welcome your family and friends with us today. As is our tradition, at the beginning of your testimony, we invite you to introduce those who are joining you. It's the standard for this committee to ask certain questions in order to exercise its legislative and oversight responsibilities. It's important that this committee and other appropriate committees of the Congress be able to receive testimony, briefings, and other communications of information. So, I'm going to ask you the standard questions we ask every nominee before this committee. Have you adhered to applicable laws and regulations governing conflicts of interest?
I have.
Will you ensure that your staff complies with deadlines established for requested communications, including questions for the record and hearings?
I will.
Will you cooperate in providing witnesses and briefers in response to congressional requests?
I will.
Will those witnesses be protected from reprisal for their testimony or briefings?
They will.
Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear and testify upon request before this committee?
I do.
Do you agree to provide documents, including copies of electronic forms of communication, in a timely manner when requested by a duly constituted committee, or to consult with the committees regarding the basis for any good faith delay or denial in providing such documents?
I do.
Have you assumed any duties or undertaken any actions which would appear to presume the outcome of the confirmation process?
I have not.
Thank you. The next Secretary of the Navy will assume this role during a time of immense importance for U.S. sea power. The next Secretary of the Navy will assume this role during a time of immense importance for U.S. sea power. Some of the greatest threats and challenges of the future will be in the maritime domain, and it is critical that our Navy and Marine Corps are prepared to fight and win decisively. The Secretary has broad authority and responsibility for all affairs of the Department of the Navy, including the manning, training, equipping, and maintaining of naval forces. As we heard from the Chief of Naval Operations and Commandant of the Marine Corps last month, their forces face significant readiness shortfalls and the urgent need to grow and modernize. This committee looks forward to hearing how you would address the challenges confronting the Navy and Marine Corps, more than $15 billion in readiness shortfalls and unfunded priorities. Plans to achieve the larger Navy and Marine Corps service leaders say we need, and delivering acquisition programs at cost, on schedule, and with the promised capability. The sad truth is, in recent years, we have not given our sailors and Marines what they need to succeed. As we have asked ever more of them, we have failed in our responsibility to provide them with the necessary resources, training, and equipment. This puts their lives in greater danger every day, and we can waste no time in reversing course. Restoring readiness, rebuilding capacity, and modernizing to regain the technological advantage of our naval forces will require clear vision and strong leadership from the next Navy Secretary. Mr. Spencer, I look forward to discussing your plan to approach these demands if confirmed. This committee is grateful both for your prior service as well as your willingness to serve again. As a U.S. Marine, as a member of the Defense Business Board, you've demonstrated your dedication to this nation. I'm confident that your decades of experience leading large, complex operations and businesses has prepared you to take on this role if you are confirmed. In closing, this committee honors the service and sacrifice of all of our sailors and Marines. Mr. Spencer, we look forward to hearing your testimony about how you plan to lead the Department of the Navy during this crucial time.